Howdy neighbors, welcome to the homestead here. Hey, I'm just gonna do a little update today on the garden, show you a little garden tour. Some have been asking, how's the garden doing? Well, here it is. It's almost the end of September. We are, our weather this year, we were about 3 weeks early for cool weather, and we almost had chances of frost here, and maybe up north they may have. In fact, out in the panhandle of Oklahoma, they were saying possibility of snow. We have a lot of friends that's went out in Colorado deer hunting, and they got snowed on this year and cold temperatures, and they wasn't expecting what they had out there. So we've kind of had a little early, and really this is probably more the way it was when I was a boy, 30, 40, 50 years ago. This is the more cooler. In September it would start cooling down, and it would get cool at night. Now last year in October we still had in the 90s there for a while until about the middle of October. It was really hot here, and now it's cooling down, and I like this. Highs in the lower 80s. I think the high today is like 77, so hey, I'll take that. I love the cooler temperatures, but I'll show you what it's doing to the garden. The garden's slowing down, and I'm not keeping the grass out as much as I was. I need to be, because I believe keeping the grass down, if you keep it from going to seed, the less trouble you have each year, and I'm pretty good about it, but I have let some of the grass go, so you'll have to pardon some of it. But I'll just show you a little bit here, my Kentucky Wonder pole beans, and they're coming along. I mean, really coming along good, and they're starting to bloom, so I'm very thankful for that. And hopefully, if we don't get early frost, we usually don't get a frost here until after the 1st of November, sometime between November 1st and the 15th, somewhere in that range usually here, but we have had them as early as the middle of October. So if we get early frost, these probably aren't going to make, because they're slower growing now that the temperatures have gotten cooler at night and our days are shorter. But look at these vines, how pretty. And they have done good. Now they didn't do as good as my spring beans did, but they've done real well. And the pinto beans, some have asked about them, and some said they've never seen pintos growing in a garden. Well, this is them growing here, but I want you to look at right there is a pod, a pinto bean pod right there, and they are really blooming down in here. So we're very thankful for that, and still got a few grasshoppers. There's a little grasshopper, thinks he's hid right down in there. But I've had a few bunny rabbits come in here trying to eat on these. Now the beans, we will just let them go, this row of beans, and I'll just let them get pretty well dried out on the vine. I'll have to watch, because if they get too dry, the birds will go to town on them and start eating them. But as far as pinto beans, we're going to have them as dried beans. I'm looking forward to a what we call a mess. In fact, some of you in other countries have asked, what do I mean by a mess? And that's just a term we use here, but it just means going to have supper with beans. So you're going to have beans for supper, and whatever amount of beans that is, that's a mess. If you had okra, we would call that a mess of okra. I don't know how that term got started, but that's something we use here in Oklahoma. Maybe you use it where you're from too, but that's something that we do. And the turnips are still making. I've still got, they have come on, and these turnips, I've had turnips all summer long and doing good. Peppers, I just picked the peppers again. I had a video where I picked a 5-gallon bucket. Well, Saturday, 2 days ago of the making of this video, I picked the bell peppers and got another 5-gallon bucket full of peppers. And Josie has been putting them up. She fixed us some fajitas and with them, and they was really good. And I see I have a big old squash right here, and ready to go. I take that in there to Josie. This was my watermelon patch, and I've got 2 or 3 little watermelons left here. I think they're probably past their prime, but I'll feed them to the chickens if they're not edible. But the garden needs tilled up here and a little weed control, but this is normal kind of in the fall. I don't worry about it so much in the fall, but I still don't want to go into seeds if I can keep from it. These I let these morning glories, I've mentioned this before on some of the videos, I let them grow up as shade for my dogs. But the plan is this year that this will be the last year to let them go, because they have grown up over my black-eyed peas. I've got to get out here and get them picked now. They're ready to go. See how pretty those things are? So this will make, I think, the 4th time for me to pick the black-eyed peas this summer. But these vines are choking them out, and I've had that happen before. You have to, these morning glories, I mean, they're pretty. Look at these pretty little blooms they have, but they are devastating to your garden. So next year I'm going to go to war with them, and I've let them go now for, this makes, I think, about 15 years here I've let the morning glories go and grow up on this fence shading for my dogs. But I've got a new plan for my dogs to have shade. So and there's my freshly planted turnips, and it's a while before they'll be ready to eat. And I do need to run the tiller down on each side and kind of keep them clean. But as soon as the cold weather like it is now, the grass and weeds kind of slow down. You don't have to worry as much about them. So, but I don't want them to overtake my turnips. But this will be my winter supply of turnips. And usually here, the past few years, it doesn't get cold enough to kill the turnips out. And you pretty much eat on turnips all winter long. If it does, maybe in February, somewhere in there, it may finally get cold enough that it ruins them. But I usually have turnips all winter, so it gives you something to eat on. Here's our okra, and I'm just letting it go to seed now. And but I will show a video I'm planning on of harvesting the okra. Oh, harvesting the seeds, how we do it, very simple, easy task. And our peppers are still growing. These cayenne peppers, I have picked them. I've quit picking the habanero peppers, but they're going like crazy. The jalapenos, they're ready again. I just picked them the other day. And Josie said she still would like to put up a few more, so that's fine. Our tomatoes, they're slowing down. I usually have tomatoes clear up to frost, and I believe I will this year. They're still loaded with green ones. But once we have a frost warning, I'll come out here and start picking the tomatoes. A lot of the vines, with this cooler weather and stuff, we've had plenty of moisture, so I'm not worried about water. But they start slowing down, and so they're kind of reached their prime. I don't see any new blooms on them. They're pretty much doing what they've done. I just picked a 5-gallon bucket of tomatoes off of this vines, so I'm still getting plenty. I've got gobs of green ones down in here. And but when it gets to where they're going to frost, we'll bring this in. And Josie makes green tomato relish like you eat along with catfish and stuff, and very good stuff to eat. And I love it. And with beans, or if we have fish or something. But the vines are starting to show their age. And these were my coffee can tomatoes over here. And you can see they're pretty much ran their course. They still have a few little tomatoes left, and I'll just leave them on there and let them continue to ripen. One thing we have to watch right now, if you leave them too long, once they start to blush, you got to get them off or they want to split. But my coffee can ones, they're kind of the ones that are slowing down, but they have made so many tomatoes this year. I have a video out on planting coffee can tomatoes, and I'd say they did pretty good. But like this vine here is just pretty much dead stuff. There's a little green left, a little green there. But this row is still looking good down through here, and a lot of green ones hidden up in there. And we got plenty. I picked a 5-gallon bucket, like I said, and she picked a 5-gallon bucket of I call them alpacas, but apulcos or something like that you call them, tomatoes that she has grown up at the house, and she picked a pretty good sized bucket of those. So she's got lots of tomatoes to make sauce and do things with. We've canned tomatoes all summer, and we've had a dandy tomato harvest this year. This has been really, really good. Anyway, I just wanted to say, if you're into homesteading, if you're into prepping, and if you plan to have a garden in the spring of 2021, or you're doing anything related to this, if you're going to build you a greenhouse or whatever, now that the cool temps are coming, and people say you can plant this, you can plant that, it's a little late to do any gardening now. If you hadn't already got it in the ground, at least here in Oklahoma where we're at, it's a little late now to be worried about. You could probably plant turnips if you had your little spot. You could plant turnips in a raised bed. If you had an old flower bed that maybe the flowers have played out in, you could sow you get you a little packet of turnip seeds. But start buying your seeds now. We're in uncertain times, and as part of our deal, we are preppers as well as homestead. You know, we do both. We homestead and we prepare, and I always buy my seeds in the fall. Enough seeds that I don't mean that I won't buy more in the spring, but I always buy enough in the fall to get me by in case something happened. Well, this year, sure enough, after doing that for the last 12 years, we had a bad spring, I call it, because of this virus. A lot of the stores were sold out of seeds. I mean, a lot of people told me they couldn't get the seeds they wanted. They weren't prepared, but I had seeds. But a funny thing with the seeds is I couldn't find them. I was like, what did I do with the seeds last year? I bought a whole sack full of different kinds of seeds and was prepared, but then I couldn't find them. Maybe it's just getting older. Maybe you have that problem too. But anyway, I told Josie, I said, I can't find my seeds. Don't know where my seeds are. And she said, I think they're out there in that freezer. And sure enough, I had them in a sack in the freezer. So I went out there and had my seeds. But I buy every fall. I even got an old video that's on here of prepping seeds. And I had saved seeds every year because I've always felt like we're going to have some bad times, and we could still this spring seeds and things, and all this turmoil that's going on in our government and everything that's happening. Just be a good idea, if you can find the seeds, to go ahead and begin to prep your seeds and get yourself ready. If you're going to grow a garden next year, start getting the land ready. If you're going to do raised beds, start getting your lumber together and start building your raised beds. Whatever, if you're going to do the tubs like what Leon does down here in southern Oklahoma, gardening with Leon. If you're going to do that type of stuff, start getting your stuff ready now while there's time, while you got plenty of opportunity. You got all winter to begin to work on it. It's hard to think of gardening when it goes to getting cold weather because you're like, well, I can't do nothing, but you can. You can start getting all prepared and ready. Start studying on what you want to grow. If you're new to gardening, there's all kinds of videos out this year and people to watch, and start studying what they're doing and get yourself ready to grow some of your own food, if that's what you want to do. And but start now, because if you wait till spring, there'll be a big rush, I believe, next spring. An early big rush on garden seeds, and they'll be hard to get next year is my prediction. Hey, I appreciate you watching today, and if you're not a subscriber, I just want to tell you a big thank you to all of our loyal subscribers. We have our channel has really been growing lately, and it's all because of viewers like you, and it is a blessing to us. Every time I look every day, and when I see new subscriber count go up, and I'm so thankful. And some of you have been with us a long time. There's a lot of you that are brand new, and you say that you just happened to come across. Some have even felt like the Lord led you to our channel, and I say praise the Lord for that, and I'm so thankful for that. And you know, we're trying to build a community here of like-minded individuals and folks that are into garden, into prepping, Christian folks, folks that love the Lord. That's what we're trying to grow here. And I know there's some that watch that you do not claim to be Christian, and you let me know that, but you like to watch. Hey, you're welcome. We appreciate you watching. We're non-discriminatory here on this, but I do give my points across what I feel, and I'm not ashamed to say that I am a Christian, and not ashamed to share that with folks. And but I sure do appreciate you watching today, and I get a blessing out of the comments and things. Comment down in the comment section how your garden go. I know some of you up in Michigan and places had a late go with your garden, and let us know how it turned out in the comments there. Did you have a good garden? I'm going to tell you, this year we on a 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, we probably had an 8 on our garden. It's been one of the better years that we have had gardening. I can't say that it is the best year, but in the last, well, me and Josie's been married for 27 years. Don't tell her that I couldn't remember, but I think it's been 27. But I've been gardening all of my adult year. Actually started when I was a kid, but in my adult years, I would say this is up towards the top for a good year for us. We had some slow start at the beginning, but it turned out we've had enough moisture and things. I know some of you are dry, but let us know on a level of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best year, what you would rate your garden this year. And you might comment where you're from too, what state. You know, you don't have to tell your town and that stuff, but what area of the country, if you're from the northeast, northwest, southwest, southeast, central part, or even maybe tell the state if you want to. But let us know how you're going with your garden. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, God bless you. We'll see you next time. We're gone.